Hey everyone, ready to dive into some pretty cool math concepts. Today we're tackling ratios, percentages, and maybe even the big kahuna compound interest.
And trust me, these aren't just some dusty formulas from school. They're actually your secret weapon for understanding, well, everything.
I like the sound of a secret weapon. But how about we start with something a little less intimidating, like planning a class picnic?
Because nothing says math like trying to figure out how many sandwiches you need for a crowd, right? Seriously, though, our source material uses this picnic scenario to show how ratios and percentages can make planning a breeze.
Okay, so let's break it down. We're told that 60% of the class are girls, and 18 girls are coming to the picnic. Our source material lays out two ways to find the ratio of girls to boys, right?
Right, and it's fascinating because it shows how different people think. You've got a Shima who figures it out proportionally, like a math whiz, deducing that if 60% equals 18 girls, then 10% must equal 3. Then you've got John, who takes a more step-by-step approach with the unitary method. Both ways get you to the same answer, which I kind of love. It's like saying, hey, there's more than one way to solve a problem. Find what works for you.
I'm all about having options. But before we get too deep into the picnic basket, maybe we should define ratios and percentages, just in case someone forgot.
Of course, absolutely. So ratios are basically how we compare two quantities. Think of it like that recipe that says 2 cups flour to 1 cup sugar. Bam. That's a 2.1 ratio right there.
Okay, that makes sense. And percentages?
Percentages are just ratios that compare something to 100. So when we say 60% of the class are girls, it means for every 100 students, 60 are girls.
Gotcha. Back to the picnic, though. Our source material mentions something about the first stop being 40% of the total 55-kilometer journey. Already feeling the excitement, and we haven't even gotten to the snacks.
Don't worry, we'll definitely get to the snacks. But first, let's figure out how far that first stop actually is, and more importantly, how these percentage calculations come in handy for things beyond our picnic adventure, like discounts, profits even. Are you ready for it? Compound interest.
Oh, yes. Compound interest, that mysterious force that makes your money grow. Sounds like we're about to unlock the secrets of financial wizards.
We are, but patience, my friend. We still have some delicious picnic questions to devour from our source material before we get to that.
All right. You've piqued my curiosity. Let's unpack those picnic problems, and then it's compound interest time. All right, back to this picnic. We've got 18 girls, which is 60% of the class. How do we figure out how many boys are coming along for the ride?
Well, we've got to find the whole, right? When we only know a part, remember how Ashima tackled it? With proportions.
Right, like if 60 out of every 100 students are girls and we've got 18 girls, then we can figure out the total number of students.
Exactly. So 60 out of 100 equals 18 out of 5. Well, that's our mystery number, the total number of students.
It's like those solve for X problems we did back in algebra.
That's it. A little cross multiplication and voila, 30 students in total.
Okay, so 30 students, and we know 18 are girls, which means 12 boys.
Right.
That's a ratio of 18.1 till, or simplified, 3.2. 3 girls for every 2 boys. Not bad at all for a class picnic. What's up next on our picnic planning agenda?
Well, we can't forget about everyone's favorite part, the budget. Question 2 dives into the cost per person, and that's where our ratios and percentages become super practical.
It's true. Field trips can get pricey.
Absolutely. But let's at least make sure we're getting the most bang for our buck. Okay, so our source material tells us that transportation costs $12 per kilometer, and it's a 55-kilometer round trip.
So 110 kilometers total. And if we multiply that by $12 per kilometer, grabbing calculator, that's a transportation cost of $3,320. And we can't forget about snacks and drinks and all that.
Right? Refreshments, those are important. And those come in at $4,280. Add that to our transportation. That's a grand total of $5,600 for this picnic extravaganza.
Wow. Okay, so to get the cost per person, we divide that by, wait, it's not just the 30 students, right? We have to include the teachers.
You got it. Don't forget about the teachers. With 2 brave teachers joining the fun, that brings us to 32 picnic goers in total.
So the cost per person is calculating around $175.
Not bad for a day of fun, food, and hopefully some math enlightenment along the way.
Right. Though sometimes I get so caught up in all the calculations that I forget what I'm even calculating. Like I'm just blindly following a recipe.
I totally get it. But the important thing is we understand why we're doing these calculations. We're not just crunching numbers for fun. We're using them as tools to figure things out, to make decisions like how much to charge for this awesome picnic or maybe compare different transportation options.
Exactly. It's about understanding what those numbers actually mean. In this case, they helped us figure out how many boys are coming on the trip and how much each person needs to chip in. It's empowering, actually.
That's a great way to put it. Equipping ourselves to make smart decisions, whether it's for a picnic or for something bigger. Okay, but enough about the budget for now. We still have that question about percentages and distances. That first stop on the journey, remember? 22 kilometers out of a total 55. What percentage is that?
So what percentage is 22 out of 55? Can we turn that into a fraction?
Absolutely. Ashima would approve. Think of it as the fraction 2255, which we can simplify to 2/5.
Right, and because percentages are all about comparing to 100, we just multiply 2/5 by 100%, which gives us 40%. The first stop represents 40% of the total journey.
And the remaining 33 kilometers from that first stop to the picnic spot would be the other 60%.
This is making me hungry for some picnic snacks. Speaking of which, our source material has a little try these section with a problem for our listeners to chew on, right?
Oh, definitely. It's a good one. Imagine the parents of these students are asked about how much time they spend helping with homework each night. 20% say they help for over 90 minutes, 30% help for 30 to 90 minutes, and a whopping 50% say they don't help at all. The question is, if 90 parents are in that middle category, helping for 30 to 90 minutes, how many parents were surveyed in total?
Okay, that's a good one. It's like a picnic-themed brain teaser. I can already see some proportions coming in handy.
It's the perfect mental challenge to try during your next picnic. But for us, we're going to put down our picnic basket for now and step into a whole new world, the exciting world of buying and selling.
Okay, so we're putting down the picnic basket and stepping into a world of price tags and profits. And honestly, I always get a little lost in all the terminology, marked prices, cost prices, selling prices. It's a lot to keep straight.
Yeah, it's easy to get tripped up by the jargon. Let's break it down. Marked price is basically what the seller hopes you'll pay the sticker price.
Okay, that makes sense. And then there's the part I love, the discount. The magical word that makes everything more appealing.
Absolutely. Everyone loves a good discount. And the selling price is what you actually end up paying after that discount is applied. But now let's flip things around and look at it from the seller's point of view.
Okay, so we're talking about the cost price. What this seller originally paid for the item.
Exactly. And if they manage to sell it for more than the cost price...
They're making a profit. Cha-ching. But if they have to sell it for less...
Ouch, yeah, that's a loss.
Business can be a roller coaster, it seems.
Tell me about it. And to illustrate this, our source material has this great example of a lucky dip stall. Remember our entrepreneurial picnic goer?
Oh, yeah. They were going to sell those lucky dips for $10 each, and each item inside only cost them $5. Seemed like a guaranteed 100% profit, right?
That's what they thought, until they realized they forgot to factor in something crucial. Overhead costs.
Overhead costs. What are those again?
It's all those additional expenses that aren't directly tied to the product itself, but you need them to actually run the business. Things like...
Oh, I'm getting it. Like, for the lucky dip stall, it would be the cost of the paper to wrap the prizes, the sparkly tape, maybe even renting the stall itself, right?
You nailed it. It's all those little things that add up. And in this case, our friend forgot to account for them, which ended up eating into their profits.
Now, it's not as simple as just subtracting the cost of the item from the selling price.
Right. To figure out the real profit or loss, you have to take the total cost price, including those overhead costs, and then subtract that from the selling price.
Wow. Okay, this is making me realize why I'm not running my own business. Too many numbers to juggle. But our source material has a few more examples to show how to calculate these profits and losses, right?
Yep. Examples 5, 6, and 7 break down the calculations for different scenarios, even showing how to calculate profit or loss as a percentage. There's one example 7 that I found really interesting. It's about a woman, Minu, who buys 2 fans and ends up selling one at a loss. Ouch, right?
That's never fun. What happened?
Well, she sold one at a loss, but then sold the other one at a profit.
Ah, so she made up for it with the second sale. It's like balancing the scales.
That's exactly what it's like. It highlights why it's so important to look at the big picture, especially in business. Sometimes a small loss can be strategic if it leads to bigger gains down the line.
Okay, I get it. It's about strategy. But we can't talk about buying and selling without mentioning everyone's least favorite thing, taxes.
Ugh, I know, right? Our source material does mention different types of taxes, like sales tax, VAT, and GST. We don't have to get into all the nitty-gritty details.
It's not.
But it's worth remembering that these taxes exist, and they ultimately impact the price we pay as consumers.
It's always a bummer seeing that price tag in the store, knowing there's going to be even more added on at the register. But hey, speaking of numbers, didn't we say we were going to talk about compound interest? That magical way to make your money work for you?
We are. Compound interest is like the secret ingredient to smart saving, earning interest on your interest. I know it sounds a bit complicated.
It does, a little,
Eh.
but I have faith in you. Walk us through it.
Think of it like a snowball effect. Your money grows, and then that growth generates more growth, and so on. It seems like magic, but it's really just math. And that, my friends, is what we've been exploring this whole time, the magic of math. From planning a picnic to understanding profit and loss, these concepts are everywhere. Ratios, percentages, even that mind-blowing compound interest, it's all connected. And once you start to see the patterns, you start to see the world a little differently.
You know, you're right. It's like we've unlocked a secret code, a code that helps us make sense of information, make smarter choices, and maybe even make our money grow. So next time you encounter a percentage or a ratio, don't shy away. Embrace the challenge. Who knows what you might discover?
That's what I love to hear. Remember, knowledge is power. And understanding these fundamental math concepts, well, that's a superpower we can all benefit from.
Couldn't have said it better myself. That's a wrap on this deep dive into the world of numbers. Until next time, keep those calculators handy and keep those brains engaged.